Hey guys, it's Hurricane Joe coming back. I wanted to keep continuing my series on what made Steve Clark such a great player. And just as important as learning music theory is to appreciating who Steve Clark is, if you really want to understand his genius, you have got to get into Led Zeppelin. You've got Jimmy Page with his #1 influence, and Steve took a lot of stuff from Jimmy Page. And to appreciate Steve, you got to know more about Led Zeppelin. And the irony is they had so many similarities. A lot of times Page would be accused of being quote unquote sloppy or Zeppelin stuff is easy to play. And again, I'll be the first to say when Page was on those substances, I'm not getting into that, but he's had some bad shows. But when Page was on, you couldn't touch him as a rock player. And on the converse, I've never really heard Steve have a bad show. There's been shows where he's played more flashy than others, but it was always a consistent performance. So again, a lot of the same people that will tell you that Zeppelin's easy to play or that Steve Clark songs are easy to play aren't playing them right. And I'm going to hopefully show a good example today. A big part I want to shout out to my good friend Rob. He's a great Zeppelin fan, and I know he'll appreciate this. Now, Rob is a very nice, passive, unaggressive guy. But if he's sitting at a bar and you're a cover band and you come and you're playing Communication Breakdown by Led Zeppelin, and he sees you play it like this, he's going to come up and punch the guitar player in the face. Now you may be asking yourself, that kind of sounds like Communication Breakdown. And to a degree, you're right. Those are the right chords for Communication Breakdown, but you're completely playing them the wrong way. Jimmy Page has never played that song that way. This is how Jimmy Page plays Communication Breakdown. Now, what's the difference? It's a complete difference. Instead of using the A here, which is E, D, A, he plays the A-shaped bar chord here in the 5th position. So he goes from a D bar chord to the A-shaped, F-shaped A chord in the 5th position. So you can hear a little bit more cleanly like this. Now that's much more challenging to play than, you see what I'm saying? And that's exactly what I mean. Page would take chords, the standard chords, and play them in a different way all up and down the fret. And Steve borrowed from that. So you have an F chord that in the 1st position. He knows that this is a G chord right here. He knows this is an A chord right here in the 5th position. B chord, and so forth. And Steve would take with that. Now what Steve would do is like, okay, I may not want that C sharp note that's in the A major. I want to play it without the C sharp, so it can be a minor or major key, and that's where he'd get the triad. So he would play it like that. Randy Rhoads actually would take the high octave of the A off and play it as an inversion. Where do you hear that? Crazy Train. Now this is Crazy Train just playing the simple way. But he actually plays it like this. All inversions, and that's the important part. The reason why that's so important that you do that, it expands your audience. If you're just playing machine gun power chords all the time, you're only going to ever play the bars or a handful of people at parties. But if you want to be the #1 band in the world, you have to expand where you're playing your chords, because you can get different melodies, different harmonies, and whether you realize it or not, it's more ear-friendly to the standard person that's not into metal rock. That's why Pyromania turned out to be such a huge album, because it was a hard rock album that had crossover appeal. The same with Hysteria, crossover appeal. Everyone gets into Led Zeppelin. And the reason they can do that was the maturity in the usage of the chords. Page also did a lot. He would use the D chord shapes. He'd move the D chord shape. So if that's a D here, he knows that's an E, that's an F, that's a G, that's an A. Where you do that, see if you remember this call. Over the hill goes in far away, it goes. That's a G and an A, believe it or not. Doesn't that sound way more interesting than playing it up here in the standard part? Now, Steve actually ripped that same part off, and where does he do it? It's in the bridge for Photograph. And what was awesome was Steve knew how to make the guitar sound like a keyboard because he learned from Page to move these chords up and down the fret. And that's such a great tool to be able to use. Start expanding on your chord usage. Instead of playing the standard chords here, that's why I first showed you where the notes are on the guitar. Take chord shapes and move them down just like Steve did. I'll give you another example. So a lot of people will say, well, Steve Clark songs are easy to play, and I've actually saw someone teach them people to play Rock of Ages like this. And if I'm in a bar, I'm gonna punch you in the face if I see you play it this way. Now, the chords are E, D, then B, A, D, E, right? But Steve has never played it right there. That's a simple part. He plays it in the second position using triads. Now, why does he do that? He can do that D lick right there, the D to E lick, a lot easier when you play it in the second position. See how that expands? Expand your playing. Move these chord shapes up and down the neck. It opens up a whole variety of possibilities, and you'll start to appreciate the connection between Jimmy Page and Steve Clark in the rhythm playing. Hope you guys liked this video. Thank you so much for your support. Hurricane Joe.